you, Celeste. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you again. I've enjoyed reading everything you've been writing in the last month. A couple quick updates from me before we do questions. Last month, we talked a little bit about load forecasting and the importance of getting it right, whether it's high or low. Just wanted to flag that we've been getting responses to that letter, and I've been posting them to my website. So far we have responses from MISO, ISO New England, and California ISO, and I think they just went up online, and so you can check those out. And I'm looking forward to hearing from the other regions soon. I also, a little commercial, I'd love to have you tune into our reliability technical conference next week on Tuesday. We just posted the final list of panelists, and we also have an afternoon on wildfire mitigation. I always find the reliability conference to be really useful. We're covering themes that I think you all have been reporting on and that I think people are interested in, and so hopefully you'll tune in either online or here in the room. I also am excited. There's a discussion in the afternoon about, and in the morning, to be honest, but about how we can leverage some of these new technologies to increase reliability and also to mitigate wildfire. And so I think there is the potential for a great American success story where we have technology which is causing us, to do a lot of work to build new infrastructure. It's also can be part of the solution to these challenges. Those are my messages up front, and I look forward to your questions. And I will start with AJ. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. AJ Camacho with E&E News. I want to ask you about FERC staff. I know you've said many times how important they are to you. I understand that some staff at FERC feel that they are being treated unfairly, particularly in regards to telework policy, that some folks who have disabilities that they believe should qualify for telework are not being excused, around folks who, in the wake of the pandemic, plan their lives and their living situations around such policies, and some staff are particularly disgruntled about the expansiveness of the return to office requirement. I'm curious if you have a response to those staff who feel that they're not being heard in that respect.
Yeah, a couple things. I mean, first of all, I would just say that the staff is incredibly important to accomplishing our mission here. And so I value them deeply. And, as someone who, I used to be on staff, I just know how important their work is to getting our work done. What I'll say to your question is a couple things. First of all, the Commission is following the government-wide policy on telework. With respect to reasonable accommodations, it's our approach is that we're following the law and legal requirements around that, and that's incredibly important to me. For more detailed questions about that, our HR team, I would love to have you talk with them. Thanks for the question. Anybody else got one?
Hi, Chair Rosner. Isa Dominguez with Politico. I just want to hear your thoughts on the White House planning to elevate Commissioner Laura Sweat to the chairmanship. Just initial thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. I thought someone might ask. And I'll say a couple things. When I was on staff, well, first of all, I'm excited to welcome them. Congratulations to Commissioner Sweat, Commissioner Lacerte. It's just a great honor to get through this process, and I'm just excited to have them as colleagues. I've gotten to know both of them, over the past few months, and I like them both. They're going to be great. What I would say about how I'm feeling is, when I was a staffer here at the Commission, I used to think the right number of commissioners was 3, because you only have to get 3 people to agree. But then when I started working as a commissioner, I became very convinced, and I really believe this very strongly, the right number is 5. And it's for a bunch of different reasons, but because, we all have really different expertise. We all have really different, perspectives that we're bringing to the table. That's the kind of wisdom in the way Congress established this commission. That's how we get good outcomes for the American people. That's how we get durable outcomes for the American people that meet the needs. And so, just to say again, I'm excited to welcome them. Thanks. Anybody else? Yeah.
Hi, Tom Tiernan with Energy Daily. Commissioner Chang mentioned the NASB proposed rule on gas-electric coordination. She indicated there's additional work for FERC to do on this area. I know FERC and NARUC had the collaborative that extended for the past year or so. I was wondering if your thoughts on any upcoming work that you see for FERC to tackle in that area.
Well, thanks for the question. Natural gas and electric coordination is is a very important issue. It's something that this commission has spent decades on, including moving forward several different rulemakings to better align the two sectors. What I'd say on next steps is we will get some comments on the NASB work, and I look forward to reviewing those. And I also look forward to working with NARUC and our state commissioner colleagues on this question going forward. I understand that gas electric work will be a focus of the upcoming November conference agenda there. Thanks for the question. Yes, please.
James Young, R2 Insider. Just following up on that, is this always going to be an issue where, just because the two industries are so different, you're just constantly going to have to make changes, over the years? It's never really going to be fixed 100%. Is that kind of...
I don't, I think whenever you have two sectors that, are really important for generating power, for heating people's homes, there's alignment, and it's always changing. I think... I wouldn't frame it quite like it's never going to be done. I would frame it more like, on Tuesday we're having our annual reliability conference, and if you look back at the arc of our reliability work, it's constantly evolving. And so one thing that's important to me is that we work with our expert staff and with NERC and with our industry partners to make sure that as the world changes, as these sectors evolve, that we're doing things that are smart, and that are durable and that make sense and that solve problems ideally before they become problems.
Thank you.
All right, Celeste. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we have 4 questions online.
Okay.
We'll start with Carlos Anchondo with E&E News.
Hello, Chairman. Carlos with E&E News. Thanks for your time. Firstly, I wanted to ask, on a personal level, are you disappointed at all that you haven't been kept on as chair of FERC? And then secondly, I wanted to ask if there are any plans at FERC to sunset any additional regulations beyond the 53 that are on the chopping block already. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, and thanks for the question. So I would just say this. I've always, I never really thought that I would ever be a FERC commissioner. I just think it's an incredible honor and privilege to do this work. It's been even more so an honor and privilege to work as a chair. And I'm very flattered that President Trump asked me to do this work. And if somebody else is tapped, I won't be disappointed at all. I'll be excited for them, and I'll be really excited to go back to doing work as a commissioner, which again, I can't emphasize enough how much of a privilege it is to do public service in this way, especially today with all the challenges and all the challenges that the country's facing, but really fundamentally that I see as just economic development. A lot of good things for the country are going to come out of meeting those challenges. So I'm just excited to tackle that in whatever capacity I'm in. Thanks.
Great. Let's go now to Keith Goldberg with Law 360.
Hi, Keith with Law 360. Thanks for holding this, Chairman. I had a 2-part question related to the current government shutdown. I know as FERC being self-funded, it is still able to maintain a lot of its operations during the shutdown. I wanted to know what FERC activities have been affected by these shutdowns so far, and if there is if FERC has a date where a continued shutdown would force a significant scaling back in activities. And then the second part of my question is whether FERC has been contacted by the White House with regards to potential reductions in force, and whether it has submitted any reductions in force plans to the White House. Thanks.
So thanks for the questions. I'll say, I'm hopeful that Congress will pass a funding bill before our carryover runs out. I don't have a public date to give you on that. But we have funding that's available to us from our previous year appropriation. We're going to use that. And in the event that we do have a lapse, you can find our plan for an orderly shutdown right at FERC.gov. On your question about RIFs, reductions in force, I'm not planning any reductions in force. I just want to flag for you, we have an OMB approved plan for fiscal year 26-27 that already factors in a 9% reduction associated with voluntary departures that have already occurred. And I think we're actually already, based on the conversation I had with you all last month, I think our stats we're already at 11%. So we're already beyond that. Thanks for the question.
Great. Let's now go to George Waycamp with Platts.
Okay. Oh. Hi, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for doing this as always. I had a question about the collocation order that you said you're hoping to get out by the end of the year. I was wondering if you had been in any consultation with the White House, particularly the Office of Management and Budget and OIRA, about that order, given the February 2025 executive order from the president requiring certain regulatory action from independent agencies receiving that White House scrutiny.
Thanks for the question. So, as I mentioned earlier, I've been working with Commissioner C and Chang to move that issue forward and get that order ready. I hope to get input from my new colleagues once the paperwork gets in. And I'm very optimistic that we can have something in front of everybody this year to work through on that. In terms of your question about who we're talking about with that, as you may be aware, that's a Section 206 proceeding, which is a contested proceeding, and under our ex parte rules, the only kind of conversations we can have about the details of that are as pen pals on the docket. Thanks for the question.
Great. Last question from Maya Weber with S&P Global.
Thank you. My question is on the rulemaking on Order 871. I was just curious if that is one that you had reviewed by OMB, aside from the Paperwork Reduction Act review. Was the substance of that rule something that you consulted with or got approval from OMB before putting out?
We did send that to interagency review, but I think we voted on the order that we voted on. And what I'd say about 871 is broadly, this was a unanimous order, and I think it recognizes consensus on the commission about how to get needed infrastructure built more rapidly, and that also, respects our statutes and provides protections for landowners as appropriate. Thanks for the question.
And with that, we have no more questions. Thanks very much. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Staff, we have 2 questions from reporters on E3 and C3. If staff could stay for a few minutes to answer questions, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.